So welcome to the very first live stream. And yeah, as you said, Adam, we are newbies, very fresh to that. So it's not gonna be perfect, but I'm quite sure it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I'll put it this way. I'm gonna try and go through the chat while we're doing this, but like Jacek said, we have 1,200 people here, and we barely even knew how to do a podcast a few months ago, let alone a live stream. So, yeah, we're not gonna be the best at this. We're gonna miss a lot of comments and miss a lot of the great discussion from you guys. But I would say we're going to go for about an hour and a half. And if you have a player you want us to speak about, a U23 player, so not a 36-year-old Polish player who moved from one Ekstraklasa team to another, but an interesting transfer at least. Put their name in the bottom, and we'll try and get to it throughout the show. But otherwise, we've also selected a few players that we want to get to. And Chad, I'll put it to you as well for you to give yourself a little bit of an introduction. You're not just the man with the biggest headphones here. You also have a brain in between those two beam boxes. So yeah, I'll let you get into some stuff as well.
What an intro. Yes, hi everyone. I'm Chad. I think you might have heard me previously on the Football Talent Show, but I'm the founder and host of the Insiders Lounge. So helping behind the scenes with Jacek and Adam to make sure that they have a weekly podcast ready to go for all of you. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the first live stream today. I'm excited. I'm probably the least knowledgeable by quite far in not only this live stream but also the chat. So I'm looking forward to just having some fun and learning more about some U21 players in the transfer window.
Yeah, perfect. So, yes, like I said, I think we'll get into some players here as more people arrive. We're at 2.9K now, so thanks again for everybody who's joining us. It's really, really special that you're taking this deadline day with us and not with some of the other accounts going live right now. I know The Athletic is live as well, so there's a bit of competition, but you guys are joining us. And Jacek, I'll put it to you for the first player you want to speak about today. I know that, we wanted to say only two players from each of us, but with the deadline day, there's been so many more U21 players, so I'll put it to you for kind of the first one to kick us off here.
Okay, so I will start with the big talents, definitely. So Julio Soler, the left back who came to Bournemouth, and he will surely replace Milos Kerkez. It's another intelligent signing by the Cherries, and another interesting signing by the Premier League clubs. There are, like 15 years ago, English clubs were like, yeah, people were saying they're stupid because they splash the money on almost anybody. And right now we have clubs like Nottingham, like Bournemouth, like Brighton. So very intelligent recruitment. And about Julio Soler, he's not your typical South American fullback. So a guy who will be running and making these attacking runs. He's a very complete fullback. So excellent in the defensive phase as well. And yeah, I think he will spend the first 6 months like learning and adapting. It's not the easiest for South Americans. They probably he doesn't even speak English, so the adaptation time will take a while. But I think it's a really nice transfer. He was quite cheap, also less than 10 million. So yeah, another great transfer for Bournemouth, and yeah, we will have the replacement of the great Milos Kerkez, who will move to a huge club in a few months.
Yeah. So if you're saying he's a worthy replacement of Kerkez, then he must be good, because I think there's few people who rate Kerkez also higher than you do. I know you're a big fan of him. I'll let you also touch a little bit on Kerkez as well here, because I know that he'll be a player who's moving very soon. So you have thoughts on Kerkez as well while we're on the Bournemouth topic?
Yeah, of course, he deserves his move. I still remember him from Milan Primavera. He even gave me the interview, the short 10 questions, as he was following me on Twitter when he was younger. Not anymore. Milos, if you listen to that, yeah, please refollow me. But yeah, a great player from Milan Primavera. He went to AZ Alkmaar, very intelligent move, and yeah, he made these steps forward, and right now he will get a huge move, and he fully deserves it.
Yeah, I think quite a lot of Hungarian players, a lot of the top talents are also really making these smart moves. I mean, you look at Szoboszlai, his career path in kind of the Leipzig avenue, or also Lichtjes as well, going from Ferencváros to Frankfurt, another great destination for young talent. So I think that the Hungarian players are really, really smart in that respect. Chad, in your opinion, the best recruiting side in the Premier League? It's obviously a little bit difficult to say. I mean, City are obviously using different tools than a club like Bournemouth, but I do think Bournemouth is right up there getting the absolute most out of their budget. I mean, it's easy to say, of course, when you also look at the league table and the form they're in, but I think it's also been for a long time, even in last season, for example, what they made out of that squad to perform over expectations. And before they went down as well, I mean, how long they stayed in the Premier League as such a small club just goes to show what remarkable recruitment they do time and again.
Yeah, we spoke about Man City just before the show. I think they had an impressive window. Bournemouth also, I think, up and coming now, especially even this season and onwards. I think it'll slowly start to, you'll be able to see more and more what they're actually doing. Brighton, I think, in the last few years have been one of those ones that have stood out, obviously, with where their players have gone onwards from the actual club itself. Then you have like a lot of these sort of under the radar that still are producing. You have a Brentford that has a strong connection with Denmark and bringing players in from there. So I think, that's really interesting. Jacek, I was going to ask you from Soler, have you been able to watch any of the U20? Is it the South American Championship that he was a part of? Because I saw that he played one game for Bournemouth and then went to the national team.
Yeah, it's Sudamericano under 20. I have seen some games. Let's be honest, Argentina came with a huge squad there. Really, it's a dream team, to be honest, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them winning the thing, because we have, in the first game, Mastantuono was on the bench. Can you imagine? Franco Mastantuono would be the absolute star player for every team at this tournament, and he just comes off the bench for Argentina. So huge squad, and like they trashed Brazil badly. Of course, Brazil came to the tournament without Loran, without Isak, and without all these stars, but still, it must hurt a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Mastantuono as a 10 out of 10 talent a few weeks ago on our Q&A, right? And I mean, the fact that you have players ahead of him in the U20 national team is insane. I mean, obviously only 17, but such a remarkable player. And Chad, you touched on Brighton there and their incredible recruitment, and they've also announced a really interesting one as well, Stefanos Tzimas. Jacek, me and you, huge fans of Tzimas. I mean, in the summer when he went to Nürnberg, we were already talking about that as the best transfer of the summer window, and now Brighton picking up for what I still think is a relatively cheap price for around, I believe, 22.5 million for such an incredible striker. Super mobile, great in channels, two-footed finisher, everything you want in a modern target man. Probably a little bit physically slight for the Premier League. I don't think he'll necessarily be ready to lead the line within the next 12 months. But I think by the end of next season, when he adds a little bit of robustness, also he'll be such a wonderful striker. And even now in a two-striker formation in the Premier League, I didn't see him doing a lot of damage. So, yes, I mean, you remember him from his very early days at PAOK. I followed him more closely from, I believe, the U17 Euros, and then also a lot this season while he's in Germany. But yeah, another great signing for Brighton. Or
I will never forget the day when I saw him for the first time. It was Greece versus Kosovo under 17. And I said to myself, who on earth is this guy? I need to do a report on him now. He was that good. So yeah, another excellent signing by Brighton. It probably means that they don't really trust Evan Ferguson probably, and he will leave. So Tzimas will be the replacement. One wonder kid will replace the other one. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see Tzimas. As you said, he won't be a starter. I don't think that he'll be a starter, but yeah, he will be an excellent backup in the Premier League. And yeah, I hope that we will see him quite often on the pitch next season. And yeah, Tzimas is my love child, and Brighton recruitment, among my favorites. So it's a perfect match.
yeah, and for me, like I said, I'm also a huge fan of Tzimas. I mean, me and Jacek will spend every day basically talking about Tzimas, even off recordings, right? We don't even need a podcast or a live show to want to speak about Tzimas. But I am a little bit disappointed in how the whole Evan Ferguson situation has been handled.
That's what I was just going to bring up.
Yeah, because like Tzimas is an incredible player, but you also have an equally incredible player, in my opinion, in your ranks already in Ferguson. And I believe at the time of recording, he's still at the club. There's been a huge amount of links with West Ham, I believe, and also Leverkusen earlier in the window. Personally, I wouldn't be the biggest fan of West Ham. I would have loved Leverkusen if Boniface went, but there's just no need at the moment. And he is very similar to Patrick Schick also, so there's a lot of reasons why it could work well. But yeah, I mean, Chad, for your opinion on Evan Ferguson, he's such a talented striker. And Jacek, I'll come to you in a moment as well, because I know he's equally a love child of yours. I think Tzimas is a love child, but Evan Ferguson's also there as well.
So I'm just looking now. He is confirmed to West Ham. I think he signed earlier today.
So we are breaking news, I guess.
Yeah, like I was looking at some of his stats, and I guess last year would have been his breakout season. And from the games that I watched last season, I really thought he had the ability to become a starter, at least for Brighton, a full-on starter. Something I think in the similar situation to John Duran, where he was kind of breaking into the first team. I thought he was going to kind of take that next step and become a starter. Things didn't work out. I think there was some injuries in play as well for him. And then over the summer, it looked like things just took a turn for the worse, especially for him. So yeah, Jacek, I'm curious to hear your opinion as well on West Ham as a destination. I'm pulling up their team now. They have Fulkrug injured, Mikel Antonio injured, and then they've got Danny Ings as really the only number 9, with Jared Bowen and Somerville and Paqueta all out injured as well. So definitely missing something in the front, and maybe Evan Ferguson, this is his chance to prove himself again.
Of course, and it's a brilliant signing by West Ham. I think 1 year ago I said that Evan Ferguson will be a goal-scoring machine in the Premier League one day, and I still haven't changed my mind. I still think he's an unbelievably talented striker. But yeah, Brighton, in Brighton things needs to move. And right now they will have Tzimas, and they will have another Irish prospect striker, so Mark O'Mahony, who's on loan in the Championship, and he's also a really big talent. So yeah, I will be following Ferguson at West Ham for sure. But as Adam said, it would be so lovely to see a guy like him in the Bundesliga as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always worried about these inside the Prem transfers. I looked at a guy like Armando Broja, right? He had a similar path, and it really ruined him, I think, with I believe, what was it, the loan to Southampton and then Everton as well. So I really worry about kind of these 6-month loans, especially to sides in relegation battle. And yeah, I think West Ham, I don't have the Premier League table in front of me right now, but I think West Ham still do have a little bit of a problematic situation there when things aren't going well. So yeah, in the current situation, he'll definitely play, like Jacek said as well. I think with only Ings available, but I just hope that he also has some long-term future. It's not just 6 months to get playing time somehow and then come back to Brighton and you're out of it. I would rather the Bayer Leverkusen pathway, because I think Leverkusen would have been very interested in signing also on a permanent basis, rather than just having a player to come in and score goals, right? They already have that with Patrick Schick or with Victor Boniface. But it's an interesting to watch out for. Chad, take us away from the Premier League then. Do you have a player that's not in the Premier League?
I was gonna stick to the Premier League because of the chat here. I'm seeing a lot of Mathys Tel to Spurs, but we'll leave that for a little bit. We also have Patrick Dorgu, so there's a few options there.
For those, I'm always looking to my right here because I'm trying to keep a hold of this chat, and I know I'm not doing a very good job. But thanks again for 3.4 thousand of you that are tuning in. It's really crazy. I know you're all here for Adam and Chad, right? But no, it's always thanks to Jacek Kulig, the football talent star himself. So thanks for tuning in. We're really happy to have you here. And Chad, I'll let you, go for your pick, and maybe in 30 minutes time we'll have more news on Tel even to confirm something here.
He actually is confirmed, so we're confirming a loan deal too.
Yeah, from our inside sources. Yeah, we're the first to break it.
No, we'll hop ship to the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. We'll go to Jack McGlynn. I know the chat won't necessarily be too happy about this one, but obviously I think he does have British roots as well, so there is somewhat of a connection.
I think Irish, if I'm honest. McGlynn,
Irish, yeah.
This must be Irish, or?
Here, I'll pull it up while I'm speaking here.
Yeah.
But headed to Houston Dynamo, who I would say near the I would say about 2 seasons ago, I would be quite disappointed in this move, but I think there's been a turn in terms of the management there and in terms of actual squad structure, where I could see young players now starting to actually use this as a different destination in the MLS, a kind of new a new way for them to transform their career or try something new in a situation like McGlynn, where maybe not as valued in Philadelphia Union now. It's a weird situation with the Union this season on not really bringing anyone in, not looking like they're trying to push for an MLS even playoff spot. It's a really odd one. So yeah, but I'm excited to see him being able to. I think he will start with the Houston Dynamo. So continuing to start and just the minutes I think are key. He was doing really well with the national team in some of their, I believe it was their Gold Cup or some of their qualifiers. So now it's just really exciting to see, okay, what are the next steps, and can he kind of take those next steps to then go on to Europe and continue in his success?
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting. I mean, for those who don't know McGlynn as a player, he's a super technical player, like pure technical player. He's quite tall, but physically not robust at all, and you really see a boyish frame. And I think we spoke a lot about this transfer now in the last few days because it's a quite odd transfer. You know, a cash sale in the MLS, I believe, is the first ever of its kind. And there's a lot of other factors involved that as well, with the fact that, you know, who owns his homegrown rights? Is it the Union or is it partially NYCFC and the Red Bulls as well? So there's really a lot of factors at play. I saw some comments from Ernst Tanner, though, that kind of shed a bit of light on it. And they spoke a lot about basically how McGlynn is an excellent football player, but he's not necessarily a Philadelphia Union player. And you see that a lot because the Union is a really physical Leipzig style, Red Bull style football, a lot of gegenpressing, a lot of high energy, intensity, physicality, ball wins. And McGlynn's more of a tempo setting midfielder. He's really someone who likes to dictate the game with the ball at his feet. Like I said, he's not someone who's physically robust. So he's someone who wants to get on the ball, wants to play possession football. And that's something that Houston Dynamo offers much, much more. And yeah, I mean, I'm quite disappointed that McGlynn isn't in Europe. I think 18 months ago, he probably should have been in Europe already. It would have been the ideal point, similar to when Patson Aronson also left for Europe. I think that McGlynn would be an excellent player for the Eredivisie. I mean, I think the comparison to Patson Aronson, they're very different players, but at a club like Utrecht, for example, I think Jack McGlynn would do an excellent job and would be well on the path to a big European career. But like I said, I think a lot of clubs in Europe are also wary of that physical development. They see a pretty lightweight player there. So yeah, I think Houston will be a good platform to play in a possession-oriented approach and then hopefully make that step within 12 months. But if he doesn't do it in 12 months, it's very, very hard to then do it in the future because, like I said, he is, I believe, 21 now, turning 22 this year. So he does need to make that step soon.
Yeah,
go ahead.
He's a 2003, so it was the right time to come to Europe, in my opinion, and you nailed it. Like Holland or maybe even Belgium or Austria would be a great step for him. But yeah, he's in the US and he will have to make an important decision in the next 12 months because, you know, time is ticking and like footballers' years are like dogs' years. So he needs to move to Europe ASAP if he wants to have a serious career.
Yeah, and it's also just disappointing because I remember there were even links to Liverpool when he was 19 years old, right? He was really, really a top talent. And I don't necessarily feel like his development has gone wrong necessarily. I think that he's actually developed exactly as you would have thought. He just kind of missed that moment to leave, and be it because of maybe a contract situation, right? I don't know necessarily all the factors at play. You know, who decided against it, or if there wasn't enough money, whatever it may be, right? You can speculate in 1,000 different directions with the MLS, but it hasn't happened. And yeah, the Houston transfer comes as a big surprise. But I think the more you reflect on it, the more you also see that there is value in it. And it's not just maybe a play to get more money or something like that. I don't think it's as simple as that. I don't think that McGlynn is that silly or that the Union is that silly to give up a player that still has a potential for European football. Oh. I guess this is the disadvantage of a live show, that when the mic falls down, you can't edit it out. I hope everybody heard me at the end there and I didn't cut off.
Of course, Adam, and let's maybe move from the MLS because we probably lost around 2,000 listeners.
Thanks for the 150 listeners watching. The only question now is from my mother who's still watching the live stream. So yeah, everybody's gone. Thanks a lot for that, chat. No, let's get them back here. Let's talk about Mathys Tel then, Jacek. Another player we can speak about for forever. Okay, I need a better stand for my microphone. I'm humiliating myself in front of thousands.
Please, people, make donations for Adam to buy a new desk.
yeah, and then Jacek a new desk as well, because if he shows his setup, it's not much better. We're not all rich here like Chad with his scarf collection in the back. If only you could see what's a few meters to the left and right of me, you'd all be so disappointed. But yeah, let's speak about Tel, and I think the interesting part about Tel is the one side, the player, of course, but then also where he's moving to, right? I think both aspects are super interesting. So, Jesse, why don't you start with the player, and then we'll get into the team fit as well.
Well, Mathys Tel, so a pure 10 out of 10 talent. Sky's the limit for this guy. I was actually quite disappointed because a few days ago I heard the rumor that he received the offer from Spurs and he rejected it. And I said to myself, why? It would be such a good move for him. So a very attacking football of Tottenham. Well, they're struggling, so he will probably get many minutes. So I love the player, Adam, and you know it. I watched him for the first time when he was 14, playing in this Rennes academy. So yeah, a lovely player and a lovely move. Definitely one of my favorite moves this winter.
I saw I think it was Sky Sports Germany. One of the reporters was saying, do you see him playing as a winger or a 9? They were hoping that he was playing as a 9, but they didn't think it was likely with Spurs. So I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I think I can go here, yes, and you can add on, but I mean, normally on Tel, we're always on the same page. And I think the beauty of Tel is that you basically play him as a winger, but he wants to be a 9 as a winger. He's an inside forward, like what Heung-min Son is, right? And that's what makes him so beneficial for your team, because you can basically have a winger who's a pure goal scorer. And, you know, a lot of people deride Tel for his shot selections, the fact that he always looks towards goal in every instance, but I really love this in a player. The last thing I want from my wingers is them to be stuck out wide and going into useless 1v1 duels. And Tel is a player who's so linear. He's a pure goal scorer, but he also has kind of the tactical skill, the trickery to play on the wings, and that's such a big advantage. I mean, he's not Heung-min Son, of course. I think Son is more of an off-ball runner, someone who's more of an open space, a vertical carrier. But he is Son in the sense that he comes from wide areas and always looks for goals. You know, he's not satisfied with his game unless he scores. And that's something that makes him so impactful, especially for his years. Because most players who are that age are also skillful, maybe even a good finisher, have a lot of passing ability, but they don't have that pure goal scorer gene. And Tel has that. And that shouldn't be something coached out of his game. You know, he will shoot from 30 yards when teammates are open, and he's going to have some misses like that, but then he's going to shoot again, and especially off the bench, he brings so much impact in that way. So, yeah, I love it from that perspective.
Yeah, and at Spurs we had Timo Werner coming off the bench, so I think if we'll have someone like Mathys Tel coming off the bench, it will be much better. But yeah, Adam, do you see him playing alongside Son? Like, they will still operate in similar
spaces.
Zones.
Yeah, I mean, we also need to recognize, of course, Spurs are still in 4 competitions, I think. They're still in both English Cup competitions. They're still in the league. I mean, of course, they're still in the league. Who knows at the end of the season? Maybe they do get relegated. But they do need to play the rest of their league games, and they're in the Conference League, I believe. Conference League or Europa League, in a European competition. So there's enough game time to go around 100%. And I mean, you look at Ange's team at the moment, right? They're completely depleted on numbers, so I don't think that there's ever anybody who won't be getting minutes in that side. But you are correct. I think it is difficult to find the space with Son and Tel together. And I think if you want to play them together, then you would have Tel more as the true number 9. So I think you would then give Son those spaces and then play Tel as a number 9, which is interesting because I personally don't think he's ready for that yet in the Premier League. But I think in the Conference League, for example, or against other European opponents, I think he can bring value there. And then we're also forgetting the aspect of, okay, how does this impact Mikey Moore, for example, which is also really interesting because a different player, but the same position. So, yeah, there's a lot of interesting storylines here. I think if Tel was a right winger, for example, it would be even more beneficial, even though, of course, you have Kulusevski there, who's an incredible player, but I think behind that, you're very, very limited. But for Spurs, I mean, like yes, it said a 10 out of 10 talent, a generational talent. Don't let anybody fool you otherwise who's saying just because he hasn't played a lot of minutes at Bayern that he's anything less than that. He's a generational talent. And that's exactly what Spurs need to now build for the future. Get players like this. Ange will be an excellent, excellent coach for him. And yeah, I really hope that he'll, show a lot of Bayern fans what a fantastic player he is. And also the Bayern management, because we can talk about Adam Aznou as well in a second here, but how Bayern has mismanaged their talents under Vincent Kompany this season, it's really, really atrocious what they're doing there with one of the best academies in Europe.
And they are not the only ones in Germany. I think we could do an episode on BVB, ruining their academy talents as well. But yeah, as you said about Mathys Tel, if there are some Spurs fans listening to us and if they think that Mathys Tel will come and replace Solanke as a number 9, do not count on that. You can like or dislike Solanke, but he's still a much better number 9 than Mathys Tel at this point. But yeah, getting Mathys Tel is a no-brainer. If you have a chance to sign Mathys Tel, just do it. And Chad, you said that, well, you're the one who told us the news, and this is a clean loan or with an option to buy? What are the...
Yeah, let me pull it up here. I believe there was no buy option because Tel rejected a full transfer that was originally going to happen. So let me pull that up here. In the comments, though, we have Max Talks Football. He says he's definitely best playing off other players, but the attacking emphasis of Spurs should suit him in that respect. And I think that's key. They're in a similar situation to what I was just discussing with West Ham. A crazy amount of injuries here. We have James Maddison out, Timo Werner out, Brennan Johnson, Wilson Odobert, well. Dominic Solanke all out injured as well. So I think either way, whether he wants to play or not in a certain position, I think he will be in one of the either the 9 or the winger spot, the left wing, and they're going to be fighting for points. That's where I wish he was in a situation where they were a little bit more comfortable in the table and allow him to express himself a little bit more. But having that pressure of being in 15th might work for the better. I'm curious to see what happens there.
Yeah, I think though in the Premier League you're never comfortable. You know what I mean? Even it feels like there never is a mid-table in the Premier League, right? Especially now with the Conference League as well, with 6 places there, it really doesn't ever feel like you're gonna have kind of that comfortable setting, and especially not when you're not playing for a big club. And Tel should be playing for a big club, in my opinion. He has the quality to do so. And yeah, I'm really, really excited to see how this goes. Very, very happy that he didn't go to United. I think that would have been terrible, especially with Ruben Amorim's wingback formations. And I'm seeing now we even have some exciting graphics here, so we're really pulling out all the notches here as well. This came from Chad, not from Jacek. I can assure you of that Jacek would not have the technical know-how to do this. But Jacek, any final words, or should we move on to another player here?
Well, the final words would be I'm excited for this transfer, but I would be much more excited if it had a buy option.
Yeah.
Because a clean loan, it's still cool, but I don't know. I would prefer the buy option there too.
Guys, can I bring a player to the table here now who really, really has already excited me since his transfer? And Chad, you can stay on Twitter right away and pull up a new image if you like. You can even go to Football Town Star because I know he's posted about him in the last few weeks. Mika Biereth, a fantastic talent. We talked a lot about the goals, right? A hat trick in his last appearance, a goal as well, I think, on his debut. But he's so much more than a goal scorer. He's not physically robust, but his technical link-up play is so excellent. He's such a beautiful footballer to watch. And I think in general, Monaco are such a fun side to watch always this season again. But really watch this player. He's just the epitome of technical class at center forward. Such a fun player. And again, another player who has made so many good decisions in his career. We talked a lot about English talents and kind of the pitfalls that can come in their careers, but Biereth is a great example of making the right decisions. So I believe he was at Arsenal in his academy years, had a really, really good education there. Then he went to Waalwijk in Holland in the Eredivisie, another great destination to develop your skills. And then he went to Sturm Graz. And the work that Christian Ilzer did at Sturm Graz doesn't need to be spoken about enough. A great club, especially if you're looking to watch more young talent. Go and watch a lot of Sturm Graz. They're one of the most exciting sides in Europe that's not being spoken about enough. And then now from Sturm Graz to Monaco, it's a superb move. I really think, he has a huge ceiling. I don't think he's necessarily a Premier League style striker. I see more so him making that eventual move into a top Bundesliga club, like a Frankfurt even in the future, for example, or even like a Bayer Leverkusen perhaps if they need someone at center forward. I think he's more that technical player rather than the physical player. But like I said, such a superb player, and I'm really excited to watch him just because he's just such a lovely player. You really enjoy watching him play football.
Yeah, it's a fantastic mix of like instincts, but yeah, as you said, he's also a fantastic player technically, and that's what Monaco needed. Of course, I love George Ilanikena, but he's still not there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they needed this number 9 so much. I watched them during the weekend, and yeah, it was unbelievable. So scored 3 goals, could have scored many more. And this Monaco side with Elias Ben Seguir, Magnus Akliush, Mika Biereth,
Yeah.
like it's a no-brainer to watch for me during the weekend. If I see that Monaco plays, I just go and watch it. So yeah, great transfer. And Adam, you've missed one club where Mika played, so Motherwell.
Motherwell, yeah.
Yeah, why do I know that? Because there is this one guy, I think my follower, and sometimes when I post about Mika, he always says, I have no idea how this guy ended up with us. And yeah, he was very shocked that a player of this quality was at Motherwell.
Yeah, and like I said as well, like it's so fun to watch these English players go abroad early and not just go to the Bundesliga if the interest isn't there, but then go to the Eredivisie, like Troy Parrott is doing as well now, or go to Austria. There's so many good pathways that these players can go down, and it's so refreshing to see. I think I believe it was our Chelsea episode when we were speaking about Keanu Dyer as another player who could take this pathway. Going down a route like Angel Gomez did, for example. And there's so many in the English pyramid that need to go down this pathway. Chad, your thoughts on that, for English players going abroad early, are you someone who would say go to the championship instead to make yourself really ready for English football to make it in the Premier League, or instead try and go that continental European path?
Yeah, I think one of the first ones that that comes to mind when you mention it is a Jadon Sancho. And I think at the time, I think it's the right step, right, to go to a club like Dortmund, who's known for bringing up these young players and bringing them to the level of like the elite European football. Comparing that to the championship, I think you get different qualities. I think Jacek, you probably know much more than I do, where you're in a much more physical, robust league in the championship or even League One. But then if you're playing European football, you're getting the opportunity to play Champions League or even Europa League and kind of adapt differently. We were even mentioning with Tel how he would almost play better to that style of European football. So I think it kind of comes in different ways. I think we've seen players come from both routes and it worked well. I think it just depends on you personally as the player, what fits best. Are you more of a homebody that wants to stay in England? Are you capable of going out to Europe? I think another big example, I remember watching... I was just looking at my scarves in the back. Jude Bellingham play against Wolfsburg, and like what a talent! But how many English players can do that? Are they capable of going to Germany and having to learn a new language and become a part of a whole new culture just to be able to play football? So yeah, definitely an interesting one.
Yeah, every case is individual, Like I remember Reece Oxford going to the Bundesliga, and me being almost certain that it's a great move and he'll do great. And I don't even know where Reece Oxford is today.
He's at Outsport at the moment on the physio bench, as he's been for the last 4 years.
Okay, yeah, okay. So yesterday I watched the game, and like the two great Arsenal academy graduates, so Ethan Nwaneri and Miles Lewis Kelly, were simply amazing, especially Miles. In my opinion, man of the match award, very well deserved. And yeah, and like 2 years ago, I would probably say, yeah, it's better for them to leave Arsenal and go abroad. But it would be a mistake if you see what they are achieving right now. So yeah, every case is individual, and that's why football is so beautiful, because you have all these different stories. And yeah, yeah.
Adam, can I throw one into the mix here? I don't even think we've spoken about this one just yet, but we've got some news from Fabrizio here.
Is he on the line, or is he on Twitter? Is he on the direct line to Chad McArthur?
Salah-Eddine, I saw him. He also came up in the chat, so I'm not sure if you guys have any comments there, but he's headed on his way to become an AS Roma player.
Yeah, we can stay on Roma after Salah-Eddine, because I have an interesting player I want to speak about as well. But Jacek, you start with Salah-Eddine.
Of course, if you check footballtalentscout.net, I think there was a report. Well, there was a report. I'm not sure if I deleted it, because I needed to delete a lot of stuff when I moved to the new website. But yeah, Salah-Eddine, so the academy player of the toekomst from so Ajax, he was considered a huge talent back during his Ajax days. Then there were some injuries, and yeah, I was really afraid that he won't reach his full potential. He moved to Twente. He was brilliant there, and yeah, he's getting a very well-deserved move to Roma. Lovely player, lovely technique, a really good passer, so a pure product of Ajax Academy, even though I think he didn't spend many years at Ajax, probably 2 or 3. But yeah, it's such an interesting transfer. Wow, I really like it. Yeah.
And I mean, he's not the first or even the only player who's left Ajax, gone to another Eredivisie club, and really blossomed into something special. I mean, we look at Quinten Timber, for example, taking a very similar path with Feyenoord. So the Eredivisie is always a good destination for these players from the top clubs to also trickle down and then make their football in clubs like Twente, for example, or even other ones like Breda as well, has quite a few, Utrecht as well. So yeah, it's another interesting example of, just because it didn't work at one place doesn't mean they're a bad player. Going a different path is always an option.
Yeah, that's very true. And let's be honest, like in Ajax Academy, if you are not good enough for a few months, they will replace you, because there are like 5 guys waiting for you to make a mistake. And yeah, there are many cases of players that left top academies, or they were forced to leave top Dutch academies, but they still managed to have really good careers.
Yeah, and just here now, we're nearly at 5,000 people listening live. So thanks again to everybody tuning in. And if you see what what Chad is typing up here at the moment, this is the player I'm really excited for at Roma. I always pronounce his name wrong. I still don't know how to say it right. I'm gonna go with Lucas Gourna-Douath, but I know it's probably wrong. So forgive me for my French, Jacek. But I'm a huge fan of him. Even back in the days at Saint Etienne, I mean, the first team football that he got as a teenager is just remarkable. And, I knew it was the end for Pep Lijnders when he didn't understand how to put Lucas Gourna-Douath in his first 11. The fact that he wasn't starting games in Red Bull Salzburg was just shocking to me. I really see him as a Tchouaméni type player. He's a true dictator in defensive midfield. And, you do need to pair him with more expansive players. He's not someone who will give you everything in a midfield. But that's exactly why I love this move to Roma. Because him alongside Manu Koné is one of the most exciting midfields I can think of in European football, let alone Italian football. I mean, that midfield complements itself so well. There's so much dynamism and verticality with Koné. And then you have a real dominant force behind him in Gourna-Douath. So, yeah, I see it almost as kind of the cheap version of Camavinga and Tchouaméni at Real Madrid. I really see a lot of parallels to that.
I love the player, but I have my worries. So, recently, Lucas Gourna-Douath, well, he wasn't the most impressive player for Salzburg, and that's worrying. And second, yeah, Roma is not the most stable place at the moment. So, if you want to rebuild yourself, yeah, Roma is maybe not the perfect place. They are in the mid-table, plenty of problems. So, yeah, it will be a difficult challenge for Gourna-Douath. I just want to mention one more player who was at Salzburg and he just moved, and I love the move even more than I love this one. So Stefan Bajcetic moving to Las Palmas. Yeah, I think Pep Linders never really understood how to use Bajcetic. But if there is someone who can understand the style of play of Bajcetic, it's the great Garcia Pimienta at Las Palmas. And I really like this move. And I watch Las Palmas as much as I can because I really like the style and I love players like Fabio Silva or Alberto Moleiro. But I will watch them even more now with Bajcetic.
Yeah, I think it's never a good sign about a coach when you speak about two very, very different midfielders and he didn't know how to use either one of them correctly. So I think that always goes to show that things didn't go well. But let's actually stay on Las Palmas here. And I know this is a little bit of a weird pathway. So yes, you are a huge fan of Las Palmas and especially their left back. I remember we spoke about their left back and you were saying he's one of your favorite players in world football even. Or excuse me, that was Girona left back, correct?
Yeah, I was talking about.
So
I was talking about Miguel Rodriguez. Yeah. Well, I said that he's the best playmaking fullback, not the best fullback.
the best, your favorite playmaking fullback, right? So this is the perils of live shows. We can't edit any of this out. So speaking of Las Palmas, then I wanted to touch about Adam Aznou, who went to Valladolid now. And for me, when I looked at the destinations where he could go, I was really, really hoping he would go to Las Palmas because I thought that would be the ideal destination for Adam Aznou. So let's talk a little bit about his transfer as well. And yeah, what do you expect of Valladolid? And are you with me that Las Palmas would have been perfect? Because for me, it would have been exceptional seeing him at Las Palmas under this management.
Of course, and I'm quite sure that Garcia Pimienta knows him very well. Yeah, it would be a much better destination. Valladolid, well, it's still positive to see Adam Aznou going somewhere and in Spain.
Playing football, right? Playing football. It's always positive when they're playing football.
Yeah, and I think Adam, a few weeks ago, we talked about Adam Aznou and we said, yeah, the perfect style for him is the Spanish style. So, but yeah, Valladolid, maybe they do not play the champagne football. So I would still think that Aznou would be much better for Las Palmas, but yeah, I'm not picky here, and I will be really happy to see Adam Aznou getting some serious minutes and not like 5-10 minutes there and here and there in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, and it just depresses me because it like you said, I'm happy he's playing football or has a better chance of playing football, but it depresses me that this has all the signs of being just a last-ditch move, right? You know, Bayern loaned Brian Zaragoza to Real Valladolid in the summer, and now it's like, last minute, where do I find a club for Adam Aznou? Oh yeah, we have a connection with Valladolid. Why don't I just call them up and ask if we can bring another player there? And I guess our lone watch scout doesn't have to watch an extra game on the weekend. He can just kill two birds with one stone, right? So I think it's a loan that, you know, wasn't really set up well. There was no purpose behind it really. So I'm happy he has the loan. But again, it's a player who I think needs to get out of Bayern. I love watching Adam Aznou. He's a spectacular ball carrier. I would argue the best ball carrier in youth football even. I mean, the things he does in the UEFA Youth League, it really goes narrowly on the line of reckless and genius. He's always kind of heeding that path a bit, but more so genius than reckless. And it's just impossible for him to kind of work at a club like Bayern. They're not in a situation where they can really integrate such a flamboyant player and someone who's such a creative from left back. It's just not possible at the moment. And I don't see Bayern ever being ready to do that with Adam Aznou. They're just not going to do it. So I think that he's someone who needs to find the right system. He needs to get in the right style of football. And if he's in that style of football, he can make it at the very highest level. Like, he could play at Leverkusen for me right behind Grimaldo right now. I don't think he would start for Leverkusen, but he would get quite a few minutes already because he could do exactly that role for Xabi Alonso quite well. It's just about finding that place for him.
I've seen this come up in the chat a few times now, so I wanted to bring it up before the viewers start striking.
Start striking. Well, we hit 5,000, so they're still sticking around, even though we did an MLS detour as well, so... We're holding on.
We did it at the right time, right at the beginning, while everyone wasn't in here yet.
Okay, so we have Dario Essugo. Once again, footballtalentscout.net. There is a 17-year-old Dario Essugo, a true midfield destroyer, a true duel master. He had a great start with Las Palmas, so an incredible player, a workhorse. Great physicality, also an underrated passer. He's not that bad of a passer. comes from the great Alcochete Academy, so the sporting academy. I absolutely love the player, and if it's true that Chelsea are planning to bring back Andre Santos, which is a complete no-brainer. I think if they won't do it, like they would be so stupid. And sending Dario Essugo to Strasbourg, there is one thing that will be certain. I will keep watching Strasbourg next season. It's an incredibly interesting team, and yeah, I love the move. I love the move, and yeah, I can't wait to see Essugo in Strasbourg.
Yeah, no, yes, and you always laugh about how you say that every player is your favorite player, but Andre Santos, he is really your player. I know when we wanted to do our Chelsea podcast, and we each wanted to select one U23 player to watch, and I wanted to do Andre Santos, and there was no way around it. Jacek had to have him. He would have striped the podcast if he didn't get that player. So yeah, it's definitely a Jacek Kulig player. And Chad, I mean, we obviously don't know as much about Las Palmas as Jacek, but those jerseys, come on, absolutely beautiful, or I absolutely love them. I think Las Palmas always are amongst the most fashionable sides in La Liga.
I'm just pulling them up now so that I can take a proper look. But I saw, is it? Yeah, these ones here.
Yeah.
What a kit. Very, very classic. Almost reminds me of the retro Fiorentina ones from back in the day. You know, with the purple checkers.
With the 7-Up on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I told Jacek as well. I'm an absolute sucker for a nice collar, and that is a beautiful collar.
It's almost got the like Aztec vibes of like a Mexican kid or something. I'm in total agreement here.
All right, we're going down a hole here. Should we bring it back to deadline day? Can I bring a player again here?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we said that the listeners don't want to listen to MLS maybe, but I'm going to bring an MLS player on board, but one who's moved to Europe actually, and I know that Jacek wanted to speak about him as well. Another difficult name, but Esmir Bajraktarević, I think is how you pronounce it. And
good job, Adam.
Yeah,
good job.
my Bosnian is not that that good, but I think I did my best there. And yeah, a super interesting player. He's American Bosnian, but he plays for the Bosnian national team. But I believe he spent his entire childhood actually in the U.S. playing for the New England Revolutions. And he's a really, really interesting talent and a super fit for where he went now in PSV Eindhoven. He's a true wide playmaker, super good in tight spaces, great feints, great directional changes. I've already seen him play for the second team against Ajax, for example, and you see how he fits right in there. It's really fun to watch him alongside Emir Bars, kind of two players who complement each other's technical quality so well. So yeah, I think he will take a little bit of time to break into this PSV team, because this PSV team is really excellent. I mean, not even by Eredivisie standards, but also by just European standards. This is a top club. So I think he will have time to kind of develop in the second team at first. But he's already getting minutes off the bench in the first team as well. And like I said, he's a very, very cool player to watch. And it's also interesting that he chose to play for Bosnia in the national team there, because Bosnia is really assembling a cool group of young talents again after what has been a really, really disappointing period. So yeah, definitely one to watch in both the Bosnia context and also now at PSV with his first move to Europe.
Yeah, he's a player that we tie with his left foot. So of course I covered him on FTS when he was 17. So a lovely player, fantastic in tight spaces, silky touch.
17, yeah, so that's a bit late for you, to be honest.
Yeah. I had a difficult period back then, let's say. But I was lucky enough to see his first game for Bosnia, and he came off the bench, and he was different, and he brought so much freshness on the pitch. I can't remember that they were losing against I don't know which team, but he was really so good, and
I think it might have been Germany actually, where they lost 7-0, if I'm not mistaken.
You know what? That it was probably Germany, yeah. But he came in and he brought so much freshness, and I think like there were two great signings regarding Bajraktarević. One was made by PSV and one was made by Bosnia. As you said, Bosnia, maybe they do not have the best generation ever, but yeah, Bajraktarević can surely become one of the key players for them in the coming years. The next player was Reda Belahyane, so one of the favorite midfielders of the famous Wad from Lionstalk, so one of the best accounts about Moroccan football, or the best accounts about Moroccan football on Twitter, on X. Yeah, I really like the midfielder. He's so mature, and if I would have to pick, well, Verona, they do not really have many great players, talents, but yeah, if I would have to pick one or two, I would surely go with Reda and probably Diego Coppola. So a really decent transfer for Lazio.
And Adam, before we get your thoughts on the transfer, I'm a businessman, and purely this is this is a transfer that was from they bought him from Nice, I believe, for €500,000, and just sold him to Lazio for €10 million within, what was it, two seasons or one season? Yeah, one season. Like that is incredible business. So definitely for a smaller club, I think a no-brainer to move him on here.
Yeah, and go ahead, Jacek.
You can just go to Ligue 2 or Championnat National, and you bring 10 players with you, and you will sell them in 3 years, everyone for 5 million. So there is so much talent in France. You guys couldn't imagine, really. Wow.
I mean, literally go to the second division of France and just pick out both center backs from every team, and you'll at least have one of them playing in the Champions League within 2 years. It sounds simple, but it is simple. I think there's no other way around it. Chad, do you want to bring a player to the table?
I'm not prepared just yet. If you want to bring one of your own, and then I'll slide one of mine out.
Yeah, you had some wire issues there. Jacek, why don't you choose one? I know you have quite a few that you want to still talk about.
Okay, so now we'll go to Turkey. Turkey.
Oh God.
Yeah, man,
Young talent Turkey exists.
Yeah, and that's why I like this transfer, because maybe it will change the general trend in Turkey.
Yeah.
So
and sorry, just to all the Turkish fans, there are young talents in Turkey. Young talents playing football in Turkey, though, is the difficult part, because there's a lot of young talents on the bench everywhere. But playing is a different thing.
Well, they mostly play for the under-19s. Yeah, that's really sad. But I want to bring Ognjen Mimović, so the right back from Crvena Zvezda, a really interesting profile. Also, someone who I would call complete fullback. So really good tackler, but really good going forward. Pretty athletic, strong for his size. He's 182, I think. So yeah, I really love that signing, and I hope that more signing like that will be happening in Turkey. Not only all these washed 30-year-old Premier League former stars, but also players like Mimović, and in my opinion, yeah, the future of Serbian football, without any doubt. A really major player, really good work rate. So he has all the tools to become a top defender fullback in Turkey.
Yeah, and then on Serbia there, I mean, it's a country that a lot of people have asked us to profile on the Football Talent Show, and I think we'll have to get to it very, very soon, because boy, oh boy, is there a lot of talent there. And I mean, especially at center back, the competition you will have in that national team for the years to come is insane.
I still think that they will have more number 9s, because and they're all the same.
Yeah,
Like,
and yeah, all modern target men.
yeah, that's true.
Chad, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm just realizing. All right, I've got my player here, and then
we've got huge microphone, and he still can't even talk.
So we have Kim Jun-hong, I believe, if I can say that right. A little bit of an interesting one, and I think while we're getting the live stream running up again, I think a perfect time to throw another MLS player in
to pull it under the rug.
Yeah, while I still can before getting bullied about it. But yeah, coming from South Korea, had a few, I think almost 20 senior team appearances, but mainly with the U21 squad, I believe, from his club, and then was first spotted, as the tweet mentions, in the U20 World Cup. Jacek, were you able to watch any of the South Korean team in the U20s?
Yeah, but believe me, I am not an expert for goalkeepers. So if you ask me for a Korean goalkeeper going to DC United, I don't think I will be able to help you here, Chad. Really sorry.
I can add a little bit. So I have watched him, and he's a big guy. That's the first thing that stands out. He definitely is robust. And I thought a lot about, why would you go from the K League to the MLS? This feels like a lateral step a little bit. And then the more I think about it, though, I do see the reasons for it, because I think it is easier to go from the MLS to Europe. And I think a lot of the fears, I would say, that a lot of clubs have with signing players from Korea or signing players from Japan is the fact that, they're worried about how they'll fare outside of their countries, right? Korea, Japan, Asian countries in general, very, very different cultures, very different football cultures to anywhere else in the world. So even though MLS may feel like a lateral step, it would probably, for a lot of clubs, at least show them that, he can adapt outside of Korea, he can adapt outside of Asia, he can play in a different country, he doesn't have any issues there. So then, for example, a club like in Belgium, let's say, or in Holland, again, two good markets to go after playing in the MLS, would probably feel easier signing him than knowing that he had that experience. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I think when you talk in terms of pathway, I think that's key. I think viewership wise, MLS is just going to be a more attractive platform to then get to Europe. And I think they've gone out with a bit of a bold move here and said that he's going to be the starter. So this is a bold move from the club itself, just to say, look, we're putting him in and he's going to start from the beginning. They got rid of their two goalkeepers from last year. So yeah, interesting. A little bit of an interesting one that I saw across my X feed. So I thought I would throw it in here while I still can.
And Korean players have done really, really well in the MLS in the last few years. I know Minnesota United were very big in the market quite early as well in their history in the MLS. So it's also one of those where if the pathway works, why not go for it? And I think that's kind of the case again here.
And it's really nice to see some Asian goalkeepers getting recognition. Even in Europe, we have Zion Suzuki at Parma, and we have Leo Kokubo in Belgium, and they are doing pretty fine. So it's great to see.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point, right? Especially with the goalkeeper aspect, it's so hard for European clubs to take a risk on an African goalkeeper, to take a risk on an Asian goalkeeper. So when kind of these abroad opportunities arrive where it really made sense to build that pathway for yourself, you'd have to take it. And the fact that DC United have signed him with the intention of starting him is even better. All right, what do we have here, Chad? Your Instagram stories.
A little bit of a great approach here, but do we have any thoughts on? Should I even try and pronounce the name? Esquerdinha is now in London. It's one from the chat, so if we don't have any comments on it, then no worries. But I just saw that he posted it. He is in London, so it does look like the deal is going to get over the line before the transfer window comes here.
Okay, so yeah, like I know Esquerdinha, but I have never really analyzed him, so won't be very helpful. It's the Esquerdinha from Fluminense, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, an interesting left back, but yeah, I would need to watch him slightly more to have an opinion, a wider opinion. But yeah, he comes from Fluminense, so the best, well, maybe not the best, but one of the best academies in South America, which I absolutely love. And yeah, Cherem is great, so Esquerdinha is probably not bad.
Yeah, and I think London Heathrow Airport is probably absolutely mental right now with just players coming and going, and yeah, it must be pretty crazy to be there at the moment. But yeah, like Jacek said, I haven't seen much of him, but it's always promising when you're coming from the Fluminense Academy. There's not a lot that can really come out of there that doesn't know how to control a football well, who doesn't know how to beat a man, who doesn't know how to work well in tight spaces. So there's always a promising package that can come from that. I think we'll do 20 more minutes, guys. So any big questions or any big players that you want to still touch on that we haven't gotten to?
Jacek, do you have a name? I feel like we've left you out a little bit here.
I'm just looking for the list that I sent you guys, because I forgot. So I want. Oh yeah, of course. So I wanted to talk about Romain Esse. I think it's another really good transfer by Crystal Palace. Well, they signed the likes of Eberechi Eze and Michael Olise previously. And yeah, I think Romain Esse, you just can't lose money on this guy. I think it was around 14-15 million euros. And yeah, it's a brilliant transfer because he will give them quality He has a really high ceiling, maybe not as high like as Olise, but still a really good player for reasonable money. So I really think it's a really solid transfer, and they just won't lose a cent out of this deal.
Yeah, and it's another example of how nobody does the championship market better than Crystal Palace. They really are dominating the transfers from there. Yeah, a perfect graphic to show it right there. It's brilliant work from Chad McArthur, the graphic man himself. I mean, you look at all of these transfers, right? Each one of them have hit so well. You didn't even mention Adam Wharton there. Yes, like another great player from the championship as well. So, yeah. I think it's difficult to make money in the championship nowadays because that's really a league that there's already big price tags that clubs can demand from there. I mean, you don't see a lot of players from the championship even going to the Bundesliga, for example. It's more so the other way around, to be honest, nowadays. But again, a very cool approach from Crystal Palace that has paid dividends for them.
Yeah, and if you look at those prices, these fees, they are pretty okay. They are quite high, but all these players are or will be worth at least 3-4 times more. So it's really amazing. Well, Romain Esse, maybe he won't be worth 4 times more, but they will still be able to sell him really for a really big amount of money in 2-3 years. He's still only 19 years old, so yeah, great transfer. And as I said, Brighton, Bournemouth, and all these clubs, I think Crystal Palace are also in there with the smart recruitment and smart model of the club.
Yeah. I think it's always like, it doesn't really matter what the strategy is, but having a strategy is so important. You know, doing stuff consistently and doing stuff consistently right. Not every summer jumping to a new pathway and trying something new, and here is an option, here is an agent who sent us a player. Having a real identity in the transfer market is just as crucial as having an identity on the pitch. And I think that's something that a lot of English clubs are waking up to. I think it wasn't like that 5-6 years ago, but I think it's done much better nowadays, where you're not just basically looking for the biggest players from top 5 leagues, but also being smart like clubs in Scandinavia have been for decades now.
We have one from the chat here asking about Dario Essugo, which I know we just spoke about. So if you are looking for more info, it is on footballtalentscout.net. And then we will be, Adam, if you want to confirm, but this should be a podcast episode as well, so you can listen back and hear what we have to say.
If Jacek doesn't mess up by bringing the audio files out of this, if nothing goes wrong there, then we'll also have it up as a podcast on Spotify and YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. But I think there's a bigger.
I probably will. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I was about to say there's a bigger percentage than you might think that will happen. So make sure you're consuming the content now. Maybe even do a screen recording in case you lose it and want to go back to it, because the football talent scout is a football scout and not a tech monster. So there's a reason why Chad is here. He's an excellent football mind in his own right, but also someone who has the capacity to pull up Twitter when we need it.
Adam, do you have a name while we're running through these?
I have a name, of course. I have a name, and I will go for.
There's always a name somewhere.
I will go for an interesting one here. Alexander Røssing. He's a 2007 born player who's now moved to Hamburg, actually, in Germany. He's from Norway. Really interesting. Also, normally it's not these deadline day deals where you see players that are 2007 so young moving clubs in Europe, but the fact that he's gone to Hamburg and not gone to a club like AC Milan, who are also really interested in him, is really interesting. It's also promising, because I like when players, take smarter moves in their career. And a second Bundesliga club like Hamburg is kind of a good balance between highly competitive, big fan base, also a lot of pressure, and not going to the San Siro, where, he simply will not play. It's just impossible for him to play at the moment there. But yeah, a very creative and skillful player. He's very good in 1v1 situations. He plays a lot from the right, but he would probably be better on the left, cutting inside on that right foot of his. Also quite a tall player. I know Jacek, me and you've spoken a bit about him. I think he has a little bit of Elias Ben-Sedir to him, but also maybe a little bit of Antonio Nusa, something in between. I don't think he's ready necessarily to start for Hamburg yet, even though a lot of people are hyping him up a lot, given, his big talent and the fact that they got him instead of him going to AC Milan, right? You always think then, wow, this must be a player who can immediately come in and play every minute. I don't think that's necessarily the case. But on the other hand, Hamburg have a lot of injury issues in attack at the moment, especially on right wing. Bajraktarević, even when fit, is not the most exciting or technical player. So there is a real pathway there. It's not like, for example, the Andras Nemeth signing a few years ago, who I was also really high on, who ended up just sitting behind Robert Glatzel his whole time in Hamburg. I do see this player coming into first team minutes very soon, but I still think you need a lot of patience with him. He's only, I believe, 18 years old. And yeah, I mean, you're going to need time for a player who is, starting a lot of games in Norway, but not necessarily starting every game. And Hamburg is always a big step up, purely from the fan base and expectation side of things as well.
Yeah, it's still a project player, right? He's one for the future. I really love the way he dribbles. He has a really wide range of dribbling skills. I would call him a technical dribbler. So a joy to watch. Really good in tight spaces. I still have my doubts about the end product. I haven't seen much, but yeah, definitely an interesting prospect. And yeah, this Norwegian generation excites me a lot. I think Røssing is not even a level 1 category talent in Norway. He's category 2 talent in Norway, and he's still so exciting. So yeah, I can't wait till all these Kevin Andre Dahlin, Oscar Spitten Nissater, and all these guys will break through.
Yeah, and I think on the other side of things, it's also really great that a club like Hamburg in the second Bundesliga are also making project players, right? They're not just basically signing players constantly looking to somehow get promoted by any means and then selling them on the next week when, it is impossible for yet another season. It's good to see that even in the lower leagues, you can build projects that are sustainable, whether you get promoted or don't get promoted. Either way, you'll have a place for him in your side. And yeah, I mean, like you say, I don't think he's necessarily the absolute top tier coming out of Norway at the moment. But still, I'm so excited to see a potential win pairing of him and Nusa. It will just be so delightful. I think Nusa has taken a huge step forward since signing for Leipzig. So much more goal-oriented now. And I think he could do something similar now at Hamburg as well. And he's, I believe, 3 years younger than Nusa as well. So yeah, there's a lot of time for development still.
He's 2 years younger. Nusa is 2005.
2000, yeah. I mean, like I said, Nusa is for me another level to him. 2005, Nusa is absurd what he is delivering on. Not on a consistent basis, yet, but in flashes what he can deliver for Leipzig as kind of that inside forward. He's definitely on a good path. But yeah, we'll hope that Hamburg's new Norwegian winger can take a similar path then in the near future.
Yeah. We discussed the Saudi Pro League. Should I pull up? I just had a graphic here. It's an interesting one because I think more and more
is the bearer of bad news. MLS, Saudi Pro League. It's like everything wrong with football he wants to bring to us.
I'll fix the graphic so it's under 23. But we had quite a few big names that I would say, at least in the U23 category, move over.
Unai Hernandez. I remember Mateo Dams. I was
there
so
we
shocked.
Go. I mean, me and Jacek speak probably daily about football, but I didn't even want to bring Mateo Dams up to Jacek. It's like it felt too fresh to bring it up to him. Jacek, one of your favorite players, I think, right?
No, not really. Mateo Dams, I don't think he has.
Really?
Mateo Dams is decent, but
but he was always a player who you said should have moved much earlier away from Belgium.
No, Mateo.
Or no, excuse me, Eindhoven.
No. In my opinion,
I'm mixing him up with. Who is the left back for Belgium, Jacek? In the summer.
In the summer.
It was Mateo Dams.
No.
I'm thinking of
Maxim de Kuiper. De Kuiper. Yeah. No. Maxim de Kuiper is on another level. So yeah,
it's late here.
Mateo Dams is a decent talent, but honestly, I kinda criticize some players going to Saudi Arabia. But this guy, no, he would never get this kind of a chance. When we speak about Duran, then I criticize him slightly because, yeah, okay, he could play for Chelsea or Arsenal and getting millions of euros and still be filthy rich. But I don't think Matteo Dams would ever have this chance. So for
I
him,
think
it's a really good move.
I think Unai Hernandez is more interesting because Unai Hernandez is, for me, a higher talent than Matteo Dams. He's, very diminutive attacking midfielder, a lot of quality in between lines, finds good pockets, also quite a good goal output as well. I think he's a real high quality talent too. There's just so many players at Barca. It's obviously difficult to break through there. And like I said, he is a true La Masia player in, diminutive, number 10, freedom between lines, very, very technical, but also maybe difficult to adapt to than many other sides in European football. That is a case of him, like so many from La Masia. But still, I think I would have liked to see him try his luck at another European club because I think there would have been a market there. Especially in Portugal, for example. A club like Braga, perhaps, could have been an interesting spot for him.
Of course, and he has enough quality to thrive in a club like Braga or Vitória Guimarães or even like make a name for himself in the second division in Spain. Of course, and you know what? A few months ago, when this craziness with Saudi Arabia started and all these players started to go there, I said to myself, damn, they have so much money. Why don't they just hire me and like I would start like signing talents? And right now it's really happening. Like someone there had this idea of, okay, we will sign these big stars, but let's sign all these talents. They are more than happy to come here for great money. And yeah, transfers like Unai Hernandez or Matteo Dams, even though I don't think he's a top talent, they're really interesting. And
or another one, Mario Mitai, another really interesting left back from Albania. Started every game at the Euros, I believe. The transfer from Lokomotiv Moscow to Al Ittihad is also not exactly the two clubs that everybody is most excited for in European football at the moment. But he's a top player who I think also could have maybe gone to Serie A, perhaps from Moscow, if that pathway was still open. It's always a little bit contentious nowadays.
Yeah, without any doubt, he has the qualities to play in a top 7 league, maybe not in a top club, but
yeah,
for sure,
like Empoli, for example.
Yeah, I watch him. There is a guest article on him on FFTS, so yeah, interesting player. And one more interesting player is Anass Salah-Eddine. I'm not sure if we talked about him in our Romanian episodes, but this guy is really interesting case. So he went to Farul Constanța at a young age because I think his father knew George Hagi, and yeah, Anass Salah-Eddine was considered as a phenomenon, and I think he's the youngest player ever to play for Romania, for the senior national team. Yeah, but I just knew that this career won't go well. Like there were too many interrogation points, and yeah, he's in Saudi Arabia, but it's a really interesting profile. If you can go and read about him. So he's Canadian, Romanian. He could represent another country, I think. So a really interesting guy.
And also wait and see. He's only, I believe, 18? Is that correct? So I think give him some time, right? I think we can't write off careers too early, and we've also seen players return to Europe from Saudi Arabia. So I'll give it some time there as well. We have about 10 minutes left here for the recording, so why don't we end it with everybody's favorite transfer of the window? It doesn't even have to be a U21 player. We can go with any player here. I know Jacek, you'll choose a U21 player anyways, and I think I will as well, but favorite transfer. Do you guys have one ready, or should I go? I have mine ready.
Go. I'm still in between 3 or 4.
Okay, I'm going to go with one that also happened today, and I'm going to go with Finn Jeltsch to VfB Stuttgart. And, I mean, Finn Jeltsch for me is the most promising center back talent in German football. Part of that amazing 2006 generation that won the Euros and the World Cup. And what's so great about him compared to so many others from that 2006 generation is the first team football that he's already played. German talents find it very difficult to get opportunities in first team football within the country. And Finn Jeltsch has basically just jumped over the U23 age group to immediately start basically every game since around this time last year. So I imagine he has about 25, 30 appearances in the second Bundesliga, which is a great platform for young players. A very, very difficult second division. I would say the second best in Europe behind the championship in England. And he's now gone for 10 million to Stuttgart, which is a really good price tag, I think, for a player like that, especially when you consider that they sold Raut for 15 million to Stade Rennes. And I think Jeltsch already has better qualities, to be honest. And also, he is the perfect center back for Sebastian Hoeneß's football. And on the other side of things, I think Sebastian Hoeneß is the best coach to get the most out of Finn Jeltsch now. So there's a perfect pairing there. I think he has a lot of similarities, for example, to a guy like Waldemar Anton. He's probably even more athletic than Waldemar Anton is, and he has even more capacity to play as a really high-quality right back even in the future. Could even play as a holding midfielder, I wouldn't be surprised. Although I do say his best position is right center back. And, you know, he still has a lot of growth to do. I think he's still a little bit naive in aerial duels, and he can struggle to implement his physical frame correctly. I think that he has the physical components, but he doesn't necessarily know how to use them always to the best of his capacity. But yeah, at Stuttgart, he will have such a good platform to continue his development. And like I said, Sebastian Hoeneß is just an amazing talent developer. I would say the best talent developer in Germany right now. I could easily also argue the best talent developer in all of Europe. I mean, we're not necessarily talking about coach. I think Xabi Alonso is a better tactician still. But when we're purely coming to getting the most out of players, getting the most out of young players, Sebastian Hoeneß is right up there with the best in Europe.
Fully agree. Huge fan of Sebastian Hoeneß, and yeah, Finn Jeltsch. It was such a no-brainer and another great signing for Stuttgart. So they will have Andrew Chase and Finn Jeltsch there under Sebastian Hoeneß. Such a lovely team to watch. Big fan, and you know, Adam, that's I love Finn Jeltsch, the German Laurent Koscielny. As for my player, I picked one Ecuadorian one, and you can already see the shock in Adam's face. He always tell me, "Yeah, you're Ecuadorians," so I will pick my.
Yeah, it's not shock. It's the most predictable thing. Nobody loves Ecuadorians more than Jacek Kulig.
That's true. And this time we have a perfect mix. So Yaimar Medina, of course, from Independiente del Valle, the great Independiente del Valle, he goes to Genk. So Genk in Belgium, one of the best talent developers in Belgium. So it's a perfect match. I absolutely love the style of Medina. He's such an explosive and energetic left wing back. He's simply superb, and I'm really shocked that he moves at the age of 20. Normally, a player of his quality would be in Europe the day he turns 18 years old. But yeah, he's finally there. I'm really happy that it's in Belgium, so the country I live in, and yeah, I expect really big things from him.
Yeah, Chad, I feel a little bit offended that I didn't get a picture pulled up for my player. You were a little bit slow there, but all good. And Jacek, if I'm not wrong here, I don't believe this is the first Independiente del Valle pathway into Gent. Or I believe there's also been a few in the past, or at least from Ecuador.
There was William Pacho for Antwerp, for example. So
yeah, but was it not Genk who also had Mojica?
Yeah, who am I thinking of?
It's not important if not, but I believe they did have another Ecuadorian.
Munoz was from Colombia, right?
Well, yeah, Colombia.
Yeah, Daniel Munoz was.
Yeah.
I was thinking of someone else.
All good.
Okay, we'll switch. I've got there is some Fabrizio breaking news, but we'll wait for wait for my option. I think one maybe under the radar, and I'm curious to see where his career takes him in terms of a loan deal or something. But Christian McFarlane from bringing up another MLS player to wrap things up so that we can have the audience slowly leave as we start talking about him. But I just incredible player. I was able to watch him a few times with New York City FC. And just raw talent. I think raw just natural physique. I think he had some speed records matching up with Mbappe, if not faster. So ridiculous player and ridiculous athlete. Now it's just curious to see, I think, like I said earlier, I think even before the show, Man City having one of the more impressive windows in terms of bringing young players in, spending over 200 million euros on players this window. that fit that criteria. So just interesting, really, to see where things go from here for Christian.
Yeah, I think fullbacks is also always a really good market to look for in the MLS because you have such good athletic profiles there always. I know in the Union, for example, Nathaniel Harriel, also a U20 U.S. international, another great player like Christian McFarlane, who's a great athletic profile. You also have a guy like John Tolkien, for example, who's also a bit more of a complete player, I would say, on the ball as well. So, yeah, fullback is always a good place to look for U.S. talent, I think. I think they produce quite well in those areas, and that's reflected also in the national team. We have pretty good competition for those places.
Yeah, I think you have Anthony Robinson, obviously, with the national team and doing well with Fulham. And then Caleb Wiley also went on loan this window to Watford.
Strasbourg.
Or was it Watford? I think he just now moved to Watford. Hopefully getting some more game time there.
Yeah, and Christian McFarlane, he was a starter for England under 70s. So it's he's not really, well, he can probably represent the US as well, but yeah, I remember him for the under 17 national team, the English national team in England, and in the same age category they have McFarlane and Harry Amos, two very different profiles, but yeah, if you could like mix them, you would have the perfect fullback in my opinion.
Yeah, this I think was also breaking news just now, but
yeah, wasn't Caleb Wiley at Strasbourg?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And what do you think about that move from Strasbourg to Watford? Is that a better move? I mean, I guess it's more in line with developing what you need to play at Chelsea. I would say it's that, but for the career in general, wouldn't you rather say you stay in Strasbourg?
Well, Strasbourg, they have Diego Moreira, who plays now as a left back, even though he's a winger.
Yeah, okay. So I guess it's pure game time.
Yeah. And right now they signed Valentin Barco from Brighton. So.
Also, shot we didn't get to that one. Is also a very, very interesting deal.
That's true. When I was talking about Julio Soler, I could have mentioned that, like Barco also came directly from South America, and it didn't really work out very well. I still have very high hopes for him, but especially after move to Strasbourg.
And I think obviously a very different profile to Adam Aznou, but also a very unique wing-back, full-back profile that you need to implement in the right ways to get the best out of. I think he's not someone you can just plug into any side. And that's also what makes loan deals for these types of players sometimes quite difficult as well, because they're not really universal profiles.
That's very true. Like Barco was loaned to Sevilla, and he flopped there.
Yeah.
I like the move, but at the end it didn't work out at all. And as I said, Julio Soler is a much more universal fullback from South America. So he's not like Barco at all. And I think you can plug in Soler to many systems in many countries, and he will do well.
Okay, Chad, hit us with the breaking news, and then we'll do a few plugs and let people get on with their evening.
Yeah, nothing too exciting, but just a couple quick ones here that I saw were all U21s that might cause some interest from you guys. Where should we start here? We have Warren Bondo. Do we know anything about him?
From Monza.
Of course, he was on Football Talent Scout while still playing in France when he was 17. So he was really good for Monza. I'm not sure if he will rise the level of Milan midfields, but it's still an interesting signing. So I'm really, all the players I made reports on FTS, if they do good, like they're all my kids, so I will always be happy.
And then one for our Chelsea fans here.
One for our Chelsea fans. I feel like we've had 8 for our Chelsea fans in this hour and a half.
Mathis Amougou is an absolute monster. He can run 20 kilometers a game.
Yeah.
Plus, he's a really good ball carrier. So, an interesting transfer. Personally, I'm a big fan, especially in the youth national teams. He was simply fantastic. So, very interesting. And I'm a fan of Amougou. I'm gonna be honest. So but
my only question, Jacek. Jacek, my only question is, where does he fit into this Chelsea team? Because you have Chukwuemeka, who doesn't play at all, for example, in as a similar profile, right? Who I would have really liked him to go to Dortmund as well now with Felix Lemaitre injured. But yeah.
Of course, I don't think he has the enough quality even to play for Chelsea first team. It is a weird move, honestly. When I read it, it's like the transfer is for Chelsea and not for Strasbourg. That's quite interesting. But maybe they think of loan him like somewhere else, because staying in London, he will just lose a few months there. So
yeah, I can imagine more so. I mean, they must not even be able to loan players out anymore with how many they already have out on loan, especially with the new regulations. But also interesting there as well, the Saint Etienne link. I mean, we talked about Gourna-Douath as well, another product from Saint Etienne Academy, one of many fantastic talent developers in France.
Like William Saliba, Wesley Fofana playing together. One of the best center back duos I have young center back duos I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I think we'll pull the plug there, because otherwise we'd be speaking here for another hour. I mean, you saw we mentioned Saint Etienne, and Jacek opens up a whole new corridor in his brain, right? So regardless of what topic we throw out, we can bring something new on. Chad, I'll let you plug your content here. We still have 3,500 listeners at this moment, which is great. I mean, the stream went down. We started from zero again. You guys all came back. So really, really appreciate you guys being here. It's our first stream. And we'll get to plugs in a moment. But we have some exciting news where we'll be doing this a bit more often in the future as well. So stay tuned for that. But first of all, Chad, thanks for hosting. And make sure people know where to find you.
No, I appreciate the time here. It's good that we had our first test stream, so I think everything went fairly well. We only had one crash, so definitely something to improve on for next time. But if anyone is watching and wants to check out more of our content as a whole, the Football Talent Show is there. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, you name it. Almost every Thursday that we have content ready to go. Hopefully this Thursday we will have this out, so if you missed some of the parts, we were on for I think over 2 hours, so if you missed anything, make sure to check it out. And then the Insiders Lounge is my baby, like Jacek says about all of his talents, interviewing anyone across the footballing industry, mainly from a business perspective, from the North American side of things as well. So lots of content always available. Thanks again for having me on here, and I look forward to the next live streams to come.
Yeah, and on my side, I mean, you can find me as one half of the Football Talent Show, so I'll make sure you check that out on the Spotify that we share with the Insiders Lounge, or just on the Football Talent Show on YouTube. And as we mentioned, we'll be doing a few more of these streams, and we're focusing always on young players, young talents, so we thought there's no better way to do it than with the UEFA Youth League starting up again to do a few match watch-alongs. So there's going to be some exciting encounters next week where me and Jacek will be joined by a special guest from whatever fixture may be, because we're still a little bit in the dark for who is even being streamed on UEFA TV. So if you want to come see our reactions to the game, but more so just speak about talent, fill up the chat with any player requests you may have, and just have a nice conversation about some of the young talents like we did today, make sure to join us there. We'll be live more and more. And I really, really enjoyed this. It's great to see how many of you guys turned out. It's really, really awesome. So we'll be back for much, much more. And Jacek, I think we have to leave the final word to you, of course.
Yeah, I wanted to thank every single one of you who came here to listen to us rambling about football. You are the best, and I love you all. Thank you so much. I'm really touched by the numbers that so many people wanted to see us and hear us. So really love you all, and kisses.